Hello everyone. Tonight we begin with the scent of wet clay clinging to your fingers, heavy as guilt, as you kneel in a sun-scorched pit beneath a sky that feels too vast, too watchful. Your hands, calloused and cracked, knead the earth, shaping it into bricks for a city that will outlive you, your children, and the stories you whisper to them. Teotihuacan, they call it, though the name feels like a prayer you're not sure you believe in. The air hums with the low chant of workers, the distant clink of obsidian tools, and something else, a faint, unsettling pulse, like the heartbeat of the gods themselves, buried deep in the pyramids rising around you. Could you have survived this? Could you have borne the weight of a city built on sweat, sacrifice, and secrets? Lie back, pull your blanket tight, and let me tell you what it was like to be a brickmaker in a place where every brick might hold a curse. You're watching from where? What time is it there? Don't be shy, drop a comment. I'd love to know who's curled up with me under the stars tonight. The pit is your world now, a shallow bowl of earth where the sun beats down like a creditor demanding payment. Your knees sink into the muck, the kind that smells of decay and promise, as if the ground itself is alive, breathing with you. You scoop clay with your hands, no gloves, no modern conveniences, just skin against soil. It's cold at first, then warms under your touch, slick and stubborn. You mix it with straw, brittle, golden stalks that scratch your palms, and water from a clay jug that's heavier than it looks. The jug's surface is etched with serpents, their eyes staring at you as you pour. You don't like those eyes. They remind you of the priests who come at dusk, their faces painted with ash, muttering about quotas and offerings. Your hands move faster than your thoughts. Knead, press, shape. The bricks must be perfect or they'll crack in a kiln. And then, well, you've seen what happens to those who fail. Last week, a man named Zipple, whose laugh used to echo across the pits, dropped a batch of malformed bricks. The overseer, a wiry figure with a voice like gravel, didn't shout. He just pointed to the avenue of the dead, where the pyramids loom like silent judges. Zipple hasn't been seen since. You don't ask where he went. You don't want to know. But at night, when the wind carries strange moans from the city's heart, you wonder if he's still out there, or if he's become something else. The clay is your life, but it's not your choice. You were born into this, your father a brickmaker, his father before him. The city demands bricks, thousands upon thousands, to build temples, palaces, and walls that seem to stretch toward the heavens. You've heard the priests say Teotihuacan is the place where the gods were born, where the sun and moon were set in motion. You're not sure you believe it, but you feel it sometimes, a weight in the air, like the gods are watching, judging every brick you shape. You glance at the other workers, their faces streaked with sweat and dirt. There's Lolly, a girl no older than 16, her fingers nimble, but her eyes haunted. She hums a tune you don't recognize, something about a feathered serpent and a river of stars. You want to ask her about it, but speaking slows the work, and the overseer's shadow is never far. The sun climbs higher, and your back aches, a dull throb that feels like it's been there since you were born. You wipe sweat from your brow, smearing clay across your face. It dries quickly, tightening your skin like a mask. You wonder briefly what you look like now, less a person, more a creature of earth and toil. The thought makes you chuckle, a dry sound that catches in your throat. If your friends back home could see you scrolling through their feeds, they'd probably post a meme about ancient vibes and move on. But there's no escape here, no screen to distract you. Just the clay, the straw, the endless rhythm of shaping and stacking. A shadow falls over you and you freeze. It's not the overseer. This figure's taller, cloaked in a robe dyed the color of dried blood. His face is hidden beneath a mask of polished obsidian, carved with the snarling maw of a jaguar. You've seen him before, always at a distance, moving through the pits like a specter. The workers call him the Silent One, though you're not sure why. He never speaks, but his presence makes your skin prickle, as if the air itself is afraid of him. He stops beside your pile of bricks, his masked gaze fixed on them. Your heart pounds. Are they flawed? Did you miss a crack? He reaches out, his fingers long and bony, and touches one of your bricks. The clay seems to shiver under his touch, though that's impossible. Isn't it? He lingers for a moment, then moves on, his robe trailing dust. You exhale, realizing you've been holding your breath. Seat-Lolly glances at you, her eyes wide, but she says nothing. You want to ask her who he is, what he wants, but the overseer's whistle cuts through the air, sharp as a blade. Time to stack the bricks for the kiln. You stand, your knees creaking, and hoist a stack onto a wooden sled. The weight pulls at your shoulders, but you've learned to bear it. You drag the sled toward the kiln, a massive dome of stone that glows red at night, like the eye of some ancient beast. The kiln is where the bricks are born, or so the priests say. You've never liked it. The heat is suffocating even from a distance, and the air smells of charred earth and something sweeter, something you can't name. You stack your bricks carefully, aligning them with the others. A single mistake could ruin the batch, and you can't afford that. Not after Zipple. As you work, you notice a small carving on the kiln's edge, a serpent with wings, its mouth open as if screaming. It's a symbol of Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent, the god who gave humans maize and knowledge. You've heard the stories. He's a creator, a savior. But the carving's eyes are too sharp, too hungry. You look away, focusing on your bricks. The day drags on, the sun a relentless hammer. You're thirsty, but the water jug is empty, and the next one won't come until dusk. You lick your lips, tasting salt and clay. Your thoughts drift to the city beyond the pits, a maze of stone and color. You've only been there once, during a festival when you were a child. You remember the crowds, the music, the scent of copal incense burning in braziers. You saw the pyramid of the sun then, its steps stained with something you didn't understand at the time. Now you do. Blood. The gods demand it, or so the priests say. You're not sure you believe in the gods, but you believe in the priests' knives. As the sun dips toward the horizon, painting the sky in shades of fire, you finish your quota. Your hands are raw, your body aching, but you've done it. You've survived another day. The overseer nods, a rare gesture, and you feel a flicker of pride. You glance at Seat-Lolly, who's still working, her fingers trembling. She's behind, and you know what that means. You could help her, slip a few of your bricks into her pile. It's a risk. Fewer bricks mean fewer rations, and you're already hungry. But her eyes meet yours, and there's a plea there, silent but desperate. What do? Help her and risk your own survival? Or turn away, keep your bricks, and let her face the consequences? The Silent One is still out there, somewhere, his masked gaze lingering in your memory. The kiln glows brighter as the sun sets, and you swear you hear a whisper from its depths, a voice that knows your name. You stand there, clay caked on your hands, the weight of the city pressing down on you, and you wonder if you'll ever escape this pit, this life, this dream that feels more like a nightmare. The dusk wraps around you like a heavy cloak, the air thick with the scent of cooling earth and distant smoke. Your hands, still crusted with clay, tremble as you stand over your pile of bricks, the weight of Seat-Lolly's silent plea pressing against your chest. Her eyes, wide and glassy, flicker toward you again, but you look away, your gaze falling to the ground where shadows pool like spilled ink. The overseer's whistle has faded, replaced by the low hum of workers trudging toward their huts, their footsteps a dull rhythm against the packed dirt. You should move, join them. Claim your ration of maize and beans before the night swallows the last of the light. But your feet stay rooted, as if the clay has claimed you, too. You glance at Seat Lolly's pile, too small, too uneven. She's still shaping bricks, her movements frantic. Her hum, now, a jagged whisper. The kiln's glow casts her shadow long and thin, like a figure from a dream you can't shake. You know the rules. Each worker meets their quota, or they face the avenue. You've seen it before, not just with Zipple, but others. Men and women who vanished into the city's heart, their names erased from the pits. You tell yourself it's not your burden. You've worked all day, your back screaming, your stomach gnawing at itself. Helping her means fewer bricks for you, fewer mouthfuls of food. Maybe even the overseer's wrath. But her whisper grows louder, not a song now, but a prayer, and it tugs at something deep inside you, something you thought the clay had buried. The air shifts, cooler now, carrying the faint scent of copal from the city. You hear drums, distant but steady, their beat like a pulse you can't ignore. A festival is brewing. One of those nights when the priests climb the pyramids, their knives gleaming under torchlight. You've never seen the rituals up close, but you've heard the screams, sharp and brief, swallowed by the crowd's roar. You shake your head, trying to focus. Seat Lolly's hands falter, a brick crumbling under her fingers. She curses under her breath, a sound so human it makes your throat tighten. You could walk away. You should. But then you see it, a flicker of movement near the kiln, a shadow that doesn't belong. It's not the silent one, not this time. This figure is smaller, hunched, moving with the jerky grace of a lizard. You squint, your eyes straining against the dusk. It's an old woman, her hair a tangle of gray, her body wrapped in a shawl woven with patterns you don't recognize. She's no worker, no priestess. You've never seen her before, yet she feels familiar, like a face from a half-forgotten dream. She's gathering straw from the ground, her fingers quick and precise, but her eyes dart toward you, sharp as obsidian. You freeze, your breath catching. She smiles, a crooked thing, and you notice her teeth filed to points, like the jaguar priests who serve the war god. Your skin prickles. Who is she? Why is she here, scavenging at the edge of the pits? You take a step back, your foot sinking into the soft earth. The old woman doesn't move, but her gaze holds you, heavy as the bricks you've shaped all day. You want to call out, to demand answers, but your voice sticks in your throat. Seat Lolly hasn't noticed her, too lost in her crumbling bricks. The drums grow louder, their rhythm sinking into your bones. You feel it now, the city's pulse, not just in the air but in you, as if Teotihuacan itself is alive, watching, waiting for you to choose. Help Seat Lolly, or save yourself. Risk the overseer's punishment, or let her face the avenue alone. The old woman's smile widens, and you swear you hear a whisper, not from her, but from the kiln, a hiss like wind through dry bones. You shake it off, your hands clenching. You're tired, that's all. The heat, the hunger, the endless grind, it's playing tricks on you. You turn to Seat Lolly, her face pale in the kiln's glow. Here, you mutter, shoving a few of your bricks onto her pile. Your voice is rough, barely audible, but her eyes snap to you, wide with something between gratitude and fear. You don't meet her gaze. You can't. The act feels like a betrayal, of yourself, of the rules that keep you alive. You've given her enough to scrape by, but not enough to ease the knot in your gut. You turn away, dragging your sled toward the huts, your pile lighter now, your rations thinner. The path to the huts is narrow, flanked by low walls of adobe that gleam faintly in the twilight. You pass other workers, their faces blurred by exhaustion, their voices muted. No one speaks of the city's heart, of the pyramids or the priests. No one speaks of the missing. You wonder if they feel it too, the weight of Teotihuacan, its hunger. Your hut is at the edge of a cluster, a small square of mud and straw that smells of damp and smoke. You duck inside, the darkness swallowing you. Your mat is thin, the floor hard, but it's yours. You collapse onto it, your body aching, the clay still clinging to your skin like a second flesh. You close your eyes, but sleep doesn't come. The drums are louder now, echoing through the walls, and you picture the city beyond, its streets alive with torches and chants. You've heard of the Tlaloc vessels, those clay jars shaped like the rain god, their faces wide-eyed and weeping. The priests fill them with offerings, maize, jade, sometimes blood. You've never seen one, but you imagine them now, lined up on the pyramid steps, their mouths open as if screaming. You shiver, pulling your blanket tighter. It's just a story, you tell yourself. Just a ritual. But the old woman's face flashes in your mind, her pointed teeth, her knowing smile. Was she real? Or was she something else? A spirit of the pits, a guardian of the clay? Your thoughts drift to the modern world, a fleeting escape. You imagine your friends, their lives a blur of screens and notifications, their worries about deadlines and likes. They'd never understand this. The way the city owns you, the way every brick you shape feels like a piece of your soul. You almost laugh, picturing them here, their soft hands blistering in the pits, their complaints drowned by the overseer's whistle. But the thought fades, and you're back in the hut, the drums pulsing, the air heavy with the scent of earth and fear. You sit up, your heart racing. Something's wrong. The drums are too loud, too close. You crawl to the doorway, peering out. The night is thick, the stars hidden by clouds, but the kiln's glow lights the horizon, red and unyielding. You see shapes moving in the distance, not workers, but figures cloaked in feathers and paint. Priests. They're coming from the city, their torches casting long shadows that twist like serpents. You duck back inside, your breath shallow. They're not here for you. They can't be. You met your quota. You followed the rules. But Lolly, did your brick savor, or was it too little too late? The drums stop, and the silence is worse. You hear footsteps now, soft but deliberate, approaching the huts. You press yourself against the wall, your pulse hammering. The air grows colder, the scent of copal stronger, like a warning. You think of the old woman again, her smile, her teeth. Was she a sign? A test? You've heard stories of the gods walking among mortals, disguised as beggars or crones, judging those who cross their path. You didn't help her, didn't speak to her. You gave Lolly bricks, but was it enough? The footsteps pause outside your hut, and you hold your breath, waiting, praying to gods you're not sure you believe in. The moment stretches, endless, and then the footsteps move on. You exhale, your body shaking. You're safe for now. But the night feels different, heavier, as if the city itself has noticed you mark you. You lie back on your mat, staring at the ceiling, the clay on your hands dry and cracking. You want to sleep, to escape, but the silence is alive now, filled with whispers you can't quite hear. You close your eyes, and the last thing you see is the old woman's face. her smile a promise of something you don't yet understand. The morning comes too soon, a gray light seeping through the cracks of your hut like water through a broken jug. Your body aches, each muscle a reminder of yesterday's labor, but it's the weight in your chest that keeps you pinned to the mat. The memory of footsteps in the night, the priest's torches flickering like eyes, lingers like damp clay on your skin. You sit up, the air stale with the scent of straw and sweat, and listen. No drums, no whispers, just the distant clatter of workers stirring outside. The city has spared you for now, but the silence feels like a debt unpaid. You drag yourself to your feet, the floor cold against your soles. Your hands, still crusted with yesterday's clay, feel foreign, as if they belong to someone else. You step outside, blinking against the dawn. The pits are already alive, workers bent over their mounds, their movements mechanical, their faces blank. You scan for Seat Lolly, half expecting her to be gone, whisked away by the priests or the avenue. But there she is, kneeling by her pit, her hands moving slowly, deliberately. She looks up, catches your eye, and nods, a small gesture, heavy with meaning. Your bricks saved her. You should feel relief, but instead there's a knot in your gut, a sense that you've borrowed time, not earned it. You settle into your own pit, the clay cool and unyielding under your fingers. The rhythm returns, scoop, knead, shape, like a song you can't stop singing. The sun rises, its heat a slow burn, and the air fills with the familiar sounds, the grunt of effort, the scrape of straw, the overseer's occasional bark. But something's different today. The workers are quieter, their glances sharper. You notice it in the way they avoid looking at the kiln, its dome looming at the edge of the pits like a sleeping giant. You follow their gaze and see it, a crack in the kiln's side, thin but unmistakable, like a wound that hasn't yet bled. Your stomach twists. A cracked kiln is bad luck, a sign the gods are displeased. You've heard the stories, kilns bursting, fires raging, workers blamed for angering the spirits. You try to focus on your bricks, but your eyes keep drifting to the crack. It seems to widen as you stare, though that's impossible. Isn't it? You shake your head, wiping sweat from your brow, the clay smearing like war paint. You're imagining things, you tell yourself. Too little sleep, too little food. But then you see him, a boy no older than 12, standing near the kiln, staring at the crack as if it's speaking to him. His name is Tlaloc, like the rain god, though you've never heard him called anything but boy. He's a runner, carrying messages between the pits and the city, his legs skinny but fast. You've seen him darting through the crowds, his eyes bright with secrets he's too young to understand. Now though he's still, his small frame rigid, his hands clenched at his sides. You follow his gaze to the crack, and for a moment you swear you see something move inside it, a flicker of shadow, too quick to be real. Your heart stutters. You want to call out to him, to tell him to move, but your voice catches, trapped behind the weight of the city's gaze. The overseer's shadow falls over you, and you flinch, your hands fumbling a brick. He doesn't notice, his eyes fixed on Tlaloc. Boy, he snaps, his voice a whip. Tlaloc starts, his head snapping toward the overseer, but he doesn't move. The overseer strides toward him, his sandals kicking up dust, and you feel the air tighten, as if the pits themselves are holding their breath. You keep working, your fingers moving on instinct, but you can't look away. The overseer grabs Tlaloc's arm, yanking him from a kiln. "What are you staring at, fool?" he growls, but Tlaloc doesn't answer. His eyes, wide and unblinking, stay fixed on the crack. You glance at Seat Lolly, hoping for a shared look, a silent question, but she's hunched over her clay, her face hidden. The other workers are the same, their heads bowed, their hands busy. No one wants to draw attention, not today. You force your gaze back to your bricks, but the image of the crack lingers, a dark line cutting through your thoughts. You've heard of the rain god, Tlaloc, whose tears feed the earth, whose anger drowns it. His vessels, those clay jars with weeping faces, are said to hold his power. You wonder if the crack is a sign, a warning, or, worse, an invitation. The day grinds on, the sun a relentless weight. Your throat is dry, the water jug long empty, but you don't dare stop to ask for more. The overseer is in a mood, his shouts sharper, his eyes darting to the kiln every few minutes. You notice Tlaloc again, now running errands, his small form weaving through the pits. He's back to his usual self, or so it seems, but you catch him glancing at the kiln, his steps slowing each time he passes it. You want to ask him what he saw, what he felt, but runners don't talk to brickmakers. They belong to the city, to the priests, their lives a step above yours, but no less precarious. As the sun dips, painting the sky in streaks of amber, a new sound cuts through the pits, a low, rhythmic chant. You freeze, your hands hovering over a half-shaped brick. It's not the workers. The sound comes from the city, carried on the wind like a warning. You've heard it before during festivals, but never this early, never this close. The workers slow, their movements hesitant, but no one speaks. The overseer barks an order, and you force your hands to move, shaping the clay with a speed you don't feel. The chant grows louder, words you don't understand, sharp and guttural, like stones grinding together. You risk a glance toward the city, its pyramids rising against the horizon, their steps stained with shadows. You see them now, figures moving along the Avenue of the Dead, their robes bright with feathers, their faces painted in patterns that make your skin crawl. Priests, but not the ones you've seen before. These carry staffs topped with skulls, their movements slow and deliberate, like predators stalking prey. You look away, your heart pounding. They're not here for you. They can't be. But the crack in the kiln feels like a mark, a summons, and you wonder if Tlaloc, the boy, saw something you didn't. The chant fades and the pits return to their rhythm, but the air is heavier now, thick with the scent of dust and fear. You finish your quota, your bricks stacked neatly, but there's no pride today, only a hollow relief. You stand, your legs stiff, and notice Tlaloc again, lingering near the kiln. He's alone, the overseer distracted, and you make a choice. You approach him, your steps careful, your voice low. What did you see? You ask, the words slipping out before you can stop them. He turns, his eyes wide, and for a moment you think he won't answer. Then he whispers, "It moved." Inside the crack, like hands. Your blood runs cold. You want to laugh, to dismiss it as a child's fear, but the memory of that shadow, that flicker, stops you. You open your mouth to ask more, but the overseer's shout cuts through the air, and Tlaloc darts away, his small form vanishing into the dusk. You return to your hut, the night closing around you like a fist. The air smells of smoke and something sharper, like metal or blood. You lie on your mat, the chant echoing in your mind, and you wonder what Tlaloc saw, what the crack holds. You think of the rain god, his weeping vessels, his hunger for offerings. You've given bricks to the city, pieces of yourself shaped in clay. But what if it wants more? What if the crack is a mouth waiting to be fed? You close your eyes, the darkness pressing against you, and you pray not to the gods, but to the dawn, hoping it will come without bringing the priest to your door. Are you still awake? I truly hope so. Because there's something special about drifting through this story together. Quietly, slowly. If you're still listening, whisper to me, where are you right now? And how far have we come together? Don't fall asleep just yet. The most mysterious part is still waiting for us ahead. The night clings to you like damp cloth, heavy and unyielding. As you lie on your mat, the echo of Tlaloc's whisper, hands in the crack, twisting through your thoughts. Sleep eludes you, chased away by the memory of the priest's chants, their skull-top staffs glinting in the torchlight. The air in your hut is thick, smelling of earth and the faint tang of something metallic, like a blade left too long in the rain. You roll onto your side, the straw beneath you crackling, and stare at the wall. Its adobe surface etched with faint scratches you've never noticed before. They form a pattern, jagged and serpentine, like the carvings on the kiln. You trace them with your finger, your skin prickling, and wonder if they were always there, or if the city is speaking to you now, marking you in ways you can't yet see. Dawn breaks, a pale sliver of light that does little to warm the chill in your bones. You rise, your body protesting, and step outside. The pits are quiet, the workers slower today, their faces drawn as if the night stole something from them. You scan for Tlaloc, but he's nowhere to be seen, his usual darting form absent from the paths. You tell yourself he's running errands, delivering messages to the city, but the knot in your gut tightens. You glance at the kiln, its crack still there, darker now, as if the night fed it. You look away, focusing on your pit, the clay waiting like an old debt. Your hands sink into the muck, the familiar rhythm returning. Scoop, knead, shape, but it feels wrong today, mechanical, as if you're a tool, not a person. The sun climbs, its heat a dull pressure, and the air hums with a low buzz of flies, drawn to the pit's damp edges. You notice Citlali nearby, her movements steady, but her eyes distant, fixed on something beyond the horizon. You want to ask if she's seen Tlaloc, if she heard the chants, but the overseer's shadow looms, and you keep silent, your bricks stacking higher, each one a small defiance against the city's hunger. The morning drags, the pits a blur of sweat and silence. Then you hear it, a soft, rhythmic tapping, like fingers on stone. You pause, your hands hovering over a brick, and listen. It's coming from the kiln, faint but insistent, a sound that doesn't belong. You glance around, but no one else seems to notice, their heads bowed, their hands busy. You tell yourself it's nothing, a trick of the heat, but the tapping grows louder, more deliberate, like a summons. Your heart pounds, Tlaloc's words echoing, hands in the crack. You force your gaze to your clay, but the sound burrows into you, a splinter you can't ignore. A shadow falls over your pit, and you flinch, expecting the overseer. But it's not him. It's a man you've never seen, his frame broad, his skin marked with scars that twist like rivers across his arms. His eyes are sharp, too bright, like polished jade, and he wears a pendant carved with the face of a jaguar, its mouth open in a silent roar. He's no worker, no priest, but there's a weight to him, a presence that makes the air feel thin. He crouches beside you, his movements slow, deliberate, and you smell him, sweat, leather, and something sharper, like crushed herbs or blood. You're quick with the clay, he says, his voice low, almost a growl. You nod, unsure what to say, your hands still shaping a brick. He watches you, his gaze heavy, and you feel exposed, as if he sees not just your work but your thoughts, your fears. The city needs bricks, he continues, but it needs more than that. It needs loyalty, sacrifice. The word hangs between you, sharp as a blade. You swallow, your throat dry, and glance at Citlali, hoping for a distraction. But she's gone, her pit empty. You didn't see her leave. The man leans closer, his pendant swinging, the jaguar's eyes catching the light. You help the girl, he says, and your blood runs cold. He means seat lolly your bricks, the risk you took. You open your mouth to deny it, but he raises a hand, silencing you. The city sees everything, he says, his voice softer now, almost kind. But it rewards those who choose wisely. He stands, his shadow stretching across your pit, and you notice the tapping has stopped, the kiln silent. He walks away, his steps measured, and you're left with the clay, the heat, and a question you can't answer. What does he want? You work faster now, your hands driven by a fear you can't name. The sun burns higher, the flies louder, and you feel the city watching, its pyramids looming like judges. You think of the jaguar, a symbol of power, of war, its teeth bared in the man's pendant. You've heard of the jaguar warriors, elite fighters who serve the priests, their loyalty bought with blood. Was he one of them? Did he come for you, or was he testing you? The thought makes your stomach churn, but you keep shaping bricks, each one a shield against the unknown. As the day wanes, the workers gather their tools, their voices low, their eyes avoiding the kiln. You notice the crack again, wider now, or so it seems, its edges jagged like a mouth. You think of Tlaloc, his whisper, his absence. You want to find him, to ask what he saw, but runners belong to the city, and you're just a brickmaker, bound to the pits. You stack your bricks, your quota met, and head toward your hut, the dusk settling like ash. The air smells of smoke and maize, but there's something else, a faint sweetness, like flowers left too long in the sun. You pass a small shrine at the edge of the pits, a stone altar carved with the face of Teotihuacan, the flayed one, god of renewal and sacrifice. His eyes are hollow, his mouth a grim line, and before him lies an offering, a bundle of maize stalks, their tips stained red. You pause, your breath catching. You've seen offerings before, but this one feels personal, as if it's meant for you. You think of the scarred man, his words about sacrifice, and wonder if this is a warning, a reminder of what the city demands. You hurry past, your heart racing. The shrine's gaze heavy on your back. Your hut is a small refuge, its walls a flimsy barrier against the night. You collapse onto your mat, the straw creaking, and stare at the ceiling. The scratches still there, their serpentine pattern sharper in the dim light. You think of the modern world, a fleeting escape. Your friends, their lives a blur of coffee runs and group chats. Their worries so small compared to yours. They'd never survive here. Their soft hands useless in the pits. Their complaints silenced by the overseer's whip. You almost smile, but the thought fades, replaced by the memory of the man's pendant, the jaguar's roar. The night deepens, the air cooler now, carrying the distant hum of the city. You hear no drums, no chants, but the silence is worse, alive with possibilities. You think of Tlaloc, the boy, his bright eyes and whispered fear. You think of Lolly, her empty pit, her absence a question you can't ask. And you think of the scarred man, his offer of reward, his warning of sacrifice. What did he mean? What does the city want from you? You've given it bricks, sweat, years of your life, but the jaguar's teeth are sharp, and you feel them now, hovering just beyond your sight. You close your eyes, the darkness pressing against you, and you wonder if you're still a brickmaker, or if the city has shaped you into something else, something it needs more than clay. The scratches on the wall seem to move, a trick of the light, and you pray not to the gods, but to the morning, hoping it will come without the scarred man's shadow at your door. The darkness of your hut is a weight, pressing against your chest as you lie awake. the scratches on the wall pulsing in the corners of your vision. The scarred man's words, loyalty, sacrifice, circle your thoughts like vultures, and the jaguar's carved snarl feels burned into your mind. The air is still, heavy with the scent of straw and the faint, cloying sweetness from the shrine's blood-tipped maze. You want to sleep, to escape, but the city won't let you. Somewhere beyond the walls, a dog howls, sharp and mournful, and you wonder if it senses what you do. Teotihuacan is awake, its hunger stirring in the night. Morning creeps in, a dull glow that barely dents the chill. You rise, your body a map of aches, and step outside. The pits are stirring, workers moving like shadows, their faces tight with something more than exhaustion. You scan for Seat Lolly, for Tlaloc, but neither is there. The absence gnaws at you, a quiet accusation. You settle into your pit, the clay cold and stubborn under your hands, and begin the familiar dance. Scoop, knead, shape. The rhythm is your anchor, but it feels fragile today, as if the earth itself is resisting you. The sun climbs its light harsh, revealing the pits in stark detail. The cracked earth, the scattered straw, the kiln's looming dome with its jagged wound. You try not to look at it, but your eyes betray you, drawn to the crack like a moth to flame. It's wider now, or so you think, its edges rough, like lips parted in a silent scream. You remember Tlaloc's whisper, hands in the crack, and your fingers falter, a brick crumbling under your touch. You curse under your breath, glancing around. But the overseer is elsewhere, his shadow mercifully absent. A new sound cuts through the pits, not the tapping from yesterday, but a low rhythmic scrape, like stone on stone. You pause, your hands hovering, and trace the sound to a figure at the edge of the pits, half hidden by a low wall. It's a woman, her back hunched, her hands working a grinding stone against a slab of basalt. She's making maize flour, her movements steady, almost hypnotic. But there's something off about her. Her hair is streaked with ash, her robe tattered, and around her neck hangs a pendant, a small carved skull, its eyes hollowed out, glinting in the sun. You've never seen her before, but her presence feels like a stone dropped into still water, rippling through the pits. You watch her, your hands moving on instinct, shaping bricks you barely see. She doesn't look up, but you feel her awareness, a prickling at the back of your neck. The other workers ignore her, their heads bowed, but you notice their hands slowing, their glances darting. The scraping grows louder, a counterpoint to the pit's quiet hum, and you wonder who she is, a grinder, a priestess, or something else, like the old woman with filed teeth or the scarred man with his jaguar pendant. The city is full of such figures, shadows that move between the cracks of your world, carrying secrets you're not meant to know. The day grinds on, the sun a relentless fist. Your throat is parched, the water jug a distant memory, but you don't stop. You can't. The overseer's whistle cuts through the air, sharp and sudden, and you flinch, your brick slipping. He's calling for a count, earlier than usual, and you feel the pits tense, workers straightening, their piles scrutinized. You stack your bricks, your quota barely met, and pray your crumbling brick went unnoticed. The overseer moves through the pits, his eyes narrow, his voice a low growl. He pauses at your pile, and your heart stumbles, but he moves on, his gaze lingering on the kiln. You follow his look, and there it is, the crack wider still, or so it seems, a dark gash that seems to breathe. You think of the grinding woman, her skull pendant, and wonder if she's connected to this, to Tlaloc's absence, to the priest's chants. You want to find her to ask, but she's gone now, her grinding stone abandoned, the slab of basalt gleaming in the sun. You blink, unsure if she was ever there, or if the heat and hunger are weaving ghosts from your fears. The count ends, and the workers return to their pits, but the air is thicker now, heavy with unspoken questions. You notice a small object near your pit, half buried in the dirt, a clay shard, no bigger than your thumb, etched with a symbol you recognize. The storm god's face, his eyes goggle wide, his mouth a snarl of fangs. It's a piece of a Tlaloc vessel, one of those weeping jars the priests fill with offerings. You pick it up, your fingers trembling, and feel a chill, as if the shard holds a piece of the god's gaze. You should throw it away, bury it, but you slip it into your tunic, a reckless act that feels like defiance. The sun dips, painting the sky in shades of blood. You finish your quota, your hands raw, your body screaming, and head toward your hut. The pits are emptying, workers trudging silently. But you feel eyes on you, not the overseer, not the workers, but something else, something vast. You glance at the kiln, its crack of black wound against the dusk, and swear you see movement inside it, a flicker of shadow. Too quick to be sure. You hurry past, the shard in your tunic heavy as guilt. Your hut is no sanctuary tonight, its walls too thin, the air too still. You lie on your mat, the straw biting your skin, and clutch the shard, its edges sharp against your palm. You think of the grinding woman, her skull pendant, her ash-streaked hair. You think of the storm god Tlaloc, his vessels filled with blood and jade, his hunger never sated. You've heard the stories. The gods demand sacrifice, not just maize or bricks, but lives, hearts, souls. You wonder if the shard is a sign, a call to offer something more, or a warning to run, to flee the city before it claims you. The night deepens, the air cool but heavy, carrying the scent of earth and decay. You hear no chants, no drums, but the silence is alive, thrumming with the city's pulse. You think of Citlali, her empty pit, and Tlaloc, the boy, his whispered fear. You think of the grinding woman, her scraping stone, her hollow-eyed pendant. Was she a priestess, a spirit, or just a worker like you? Broken by the city's weight? You don't know, but you feel her presence still, a shadow at the edge of your dreams. You close your eyes, the shard cutting into your hand, and you wonder what the city wants, what it's shaping you into. You've given it bricks, sweat, fear, but the storm god's face looms in your mind, his fangs bared, his eyes unblinking. You pray not to him, but to the dawn, hoping it will come without the grinding woman's shadow, without the kiln's crack opening wider, without the city calling your name. The shard in your hand feels like a secret you shouldn't know, its sharp edges pressing against your palm as you lie in the dark, the hut's walls closing in like a held breath. The storm god's carved face, Tlaloc's goggle eyes, his fanged snarl, burns in your mind, and the air tastes of dust and something sour, like fear left to fester. You tuck the shard under your mat, hiding it from the night, but its weight lingers, a reminder of the kiln's crack, the grinding woman's hollow-eyed pendant, the city's unblinking gaze. You want to sleep, to forget, but Teotihuacan is a dream that traps you, its pulse thrumming through the earth beneath you. Dawn arrives, a thin veil of light that does little to soften the cold. You rise, your body a knot of pain, and step outside, the shard's presence a quiet ache in your thoughts. The pits are waking, workers moving with the sluggishness of those who've seen too much. You scan for Citlali, for Tlaloc, but their absence is a wound, raw and unhealed. You settle into your pit, the clay slick and heavy, and begin scoop, knead, shape, your hands moving while your mind drifts, snagged on the shard, the crack, the grinding woman's ash-streaked hair. The sun rises, its heat a slow bruise, and the air hums with the usual sounds, the scrape of straw, the grunt of effort, the overseer's distant bark. But there's something else today, a faint vibration under your knees, like the earth itself is stirring. You pause, your hands buried in clay, and feel it again, a tremor, brief but sharp, as if the city is shifting in its sleep. You glance at the other workers, expecting alarm, but they keep working, their faces blank, their hands steady. You wonder if you imagined it, if the shard and the sleepless night are twisting your senses. The kiln looms at the edge of your vision, its crack a dark scar against the dome's curve. You try not to look, but it pulls you, a silent command. You notice something new, a faint smudge of red along the crack's edge, like blood or paint, too deliberate to be chance. Your stomach lurches. You think of the shrine's blood-tipped maze, the storm god's fanged face, and the tremor comes again, stronger now, rattling the straw at your feet. You grip the clay, anchoring yourself, and hear a low murmur from the workers, a ripple of unease that fades as quickly as it begins. A figure approaches, not the overseer but a woman, tall and angular, her robe dyed the color of twilight, her hair bound with cords of leather. She carries a staff topped with a carved owl, its eyes wide and unblinking, a symbol of the underworld, of secrets buried deep. You've heard of her kind, diviners, women who read the gods will in smoke and bone. Her name is whispered in the pits, Malinal, the owl seer, who speaks to spirits and knows the city's hidden veins. She stops at the kiln, her staff tapping the ground, and you feel the air shift, heavier now, thick with the scent of copal and something sharper, like charred flesh. You keep working, your hands shaping bricks, but your eyes follow her. She traces the crack with her fingers, her movement slow, almost tender, and the red smudge seems to glow under her touch. She mutters something, words you can't hear, and the workers nearest her slow, their hands faltering. You want to look away, to lose yourself in the clay, but Malinal's presence is a hook, pulling you toward her. She turns, her gaze sweeping the pits, and for a moment her eyes, dark and bottomless, meet yours. Your breath catches. She knows about the shard. She must. You feel it, a certainty that coils in your gut like a snake. The tremor comes again, a low growl from the earth, and Malinal doesn't flinch. She raises her staff, the owl's eyes catching the sun, and the workers stop, their hands frozen, their faces tight with fear. The overseer appears, his voice sharp, but Malinal silences him with a look, her authority a blade he can't match. She speaks, her voice low but clear, carrying across the pits. The earth speaks, she says. The gods are restless. The city demands balance. Her words are simple, but they land like stones, heavy with meaning you don't fully grasp. Balance. Sacrifice. The storm god's face flashes in your mind, his fangs bared, his eyes unyielding. The workers resume, their movements jerky, but you feel the shift, the pit's alive with a new tension. You shape your bricks, your hands trembling, and notice the clay feels different today, grittier, as if mixed with something you can't see. You think of the red smudge, the tremors, Malinal's words. You glance at the kiln, and there she is, still standing, her staff planted like a claim. She's watching you now, not overtly, but you feel it, her gaze a weight on your shoulders. You wonder what she sees, a brickmaker, a thief who stole a shard, or something else, something the city has marked for its own. The day drags, the sun a relentless hammer. Your throat is dry, your stomach hollow, but you don't stop, driven by a fear that's become your shadow. The tremors come and go, small but persistent, and the workers whisper now, their voices low, speaking of the gods, of signs, of offerings. You catch fragments, blood for the earth, hearts for the sky, and your hand drifts to your tunic, where the shard would be if you hadn't hidden it. You wonder if you should return it, cast it into the kiln, but the thought feels like betrayal, as if the shard has claimed you as much as you've claimed it. As dusk settles, the pit's empty, workers trudging to their huts, but Malinal remains a solitary figure by the kiln. You finish your quota, your bricks stacked, and hesitate, your eyes drawn to her. She's carving something into the ground now, her staff tracing lines that form a spiral, a symbol you've seen on temple walls, a mark of the underworld's gate. You want to approach her to ask what she knows, but fear roots you. You turn away, heading to your hut, the red smudge on the kiln burned into your vision. Your hut is no refuge, its walls too thin to keep out the night's weight. You lie on your mat, the straw sharp against your skin, and pull the shard from its hiding place. It feels heavier now, warmer, as if it's absorbed the day's heat. You trace Tlaloc's face, his eyes seeming to shift in the dim light. You think of Malinal, her owl staff, her talk of balance. You think of the tremors, the red smudge, the city's restless pulse. You've given bricks sweat, fear, but the gods want more, always more. You wonder if the shard is a gift or a curse, a key to the city's secrets or a chain to its will. The night deepens, the air cool but thick, carrying the scent of smoke and earth. You hear no tremors, no chants, but the silence is a presence, watching, waiting. You think of Seatlali, Tlaloc, their absences a question you can't answer. You think of Malinal, her spiral in the dirt, her eyes that saw too much. You clutch the shard, its edges biting your skin, and wonder what balance means, what sacrifice the city demands. You pray, not to Tlaloc, but to the morning, hoping it will come without Malinal's shadow, without the kiln's crack swallowing you whole. The shard is a cold weight in your hand, its carved storm god staring through you as you lie in the dark, the hot straw mat biting into your back. Malinal's words, balance, the god's restlessness, coil in your mind, tangled with the memory of the kiln's red-smeared crack and the earth's faint tremors. The air is thick, smelling of damp earth and the faint, bitter tang of copal drifting from the city. You hide the shard again, tucking it beneath the mat, but its presence lingers, a splinter in your thoughts. You close your eyes, seeking sleep, but the city's pulse is too loud, a rhythm that hums through the walls, whispering of debts you can't pay. Morning creeps in, a pale light that feels more like a warning than a promise. You rise, your body a tapestry of aches, and step outside. The pits are stirring, workers moving with a quiet urgency, their eyes darting as if the earth might shudder again. You look for Seatlali, for Tlaloc, but their absence is a shadow that follows you. You settle into your pit, the clay slick and unyielding, and begin, scoop, knead, shape, your hands moving while your heart races, caught on Malinal's spiral, the owl's unblinking eyes, the red smudge that seemed to pulse under her touch. The sun climbs, its heat a dull blade, and the air hums with the pit's familiar sounds, the rustle of straw, the slap of clay, the overseer's occasional grunt. But there's a new tension today, a tightness in the workers' shoulders, a hush in their voices. You notice it in the way they avoid the kiln, its crack now a gaping wound, the red smudge brighter, wetter, as if the dome itself is bleeding. You try to focus on your bricks, but your eyes keep drifting, pulled by the crack's silent hunger. You think of Tlaloc's whisper, hands in the crack, and wonder if the boy saw this, if he knew what the kiln hides. A figure moves through the pits, not Malinal or the overseer, but a man, lean and wiry, his skin painted with black and yellow stripes. his hair adorned with feathers that flutter like moths. He carries a bundle of reeds, their tips sharpened, and his eyes are bright, too bright, like flames caught in obsidian. You've seen him before during festivals, one of the penitents who pierce their flesh to feed the gods. His name is whispered in the huts, Istli, the blood warden, who offers his pain to appease the divine. He stops near your pit, his gaze sweeping over your bricks, and you feel a chill, as if his eyes see the shard hidden in your hut. You keep working, your hands shaping clay, but Istli's presence is a weight, pressing against you. He kneels, setting his reeds on the ground, and begins to chant a low, guttural sound that makes your skin crawl. The workers slow, their hands faltering, but no one speaks. You glance at the overseer, expecting a shout, but he's watching Istli. His face unreadable. Istli draws a reed across his arm, a thin line of blood welling up, and you flinch, the sight too raw, too close. He lets the blood drip onto the earth, a small offering, and you think of the red smudge, the kiln's crack, the storm god's fanged snarl. The gods thirst, Istli says, his voice soft but sharp, cutting through the pit's hum. The earth hungers. Who will feed them? His eyes find yours, just for a moment, and your breath catches. You look down, your hands trembling, and shape a brick with a force you don't feel. You tell yourself he wasn't speaking to you, that the shard is safe, that you're just a brickmaker, not a sacrifice. But the air feels thinner, the clay grittier, as if the earth knows your secret, as if the city is listening. The day grinds on, the sun a relentless fist. Your throat is dry, your stomach a hollow ache, but you don't stop, driven by a fear that's become your shadow. Istli moves through the pits, his chant a constant drone, his blood dripping in small, deliberate patterns. You notice the workers' glances, their whispered prayers, their hands moving faster, as if their bricks can shield them from the god's gaze. You think of the modern world, a fleeting escape, your friends, their lives a blur of notifications and coffee stains, their worries so small compared to this. They'd crumble here, their soft hands useless, their complaints drowned by Istli's chant. You almost laugh, but the sound dies in your throat, choked by the city's weight. As the sun dips, casting long shadows across the pits, Istli stops at the kiln, his reeds now stained red. He traces the crack with a bloody finger, his chant growing louder, and you feel the earth tremble again, a low growl that shakes the clay under your knees. The workers freeze, their eyes wide, but Istli doesn't flinch. He turns, his painted face gleaming in the dusk, and raises his arms, the feathers in his hair catching the light. The gods see, he says, his voice a blade. They know who gives and who takes. You feel the shard's weight, even from your hut, and wonder if he means you. The pit's empty, workers trudging to their huts. But you linger, your quota met, your brick stacked. You watch Istli, his figure small against the kiln's bulk, and notice something new. A small clay figure at the crack's base, shaped like a man, its arms raised, its face blank. It's an offering, a stand-in for sacrifice, but it feels personal, as if it's meant to be you. You think of the storm god, his weeping vessels, his hunger for blood. You think of Malinal's spiral, the scarred man's jaguar, the grinding woman's skull. The city is weaving a net, and you're caught in its threads. You head to your hut, the dusk thick with the scent of smoke and blood. The air is cooler now, but it carries a weight, a promise of something coming. You pass a small altar, not the flayed ones but another, carved with the image of Total, the old fire god, his wrinkled face serene yet fierce. Before him lies a burnt offering, charred maize, a singed feather, a smear of ash. You pause, your heart racing, and wonder if Istli left it, if it's a sign. You hurry on, the altar's gaze heavy, the clay figure's blank face haunting you. Your hut is no sanctuary, its walls too thin to block the night's pulse. You lie on your mat, the straw sharp, and pull the shard from its hiding place. It feels alive, warm, its carved eyes glinting in the dark. You think of Istli, his blood, his chant, his warning. You think of the kiln's crack, the red smudge, the clay figure at its base. You've given bricks, sweat, fear, but the gods want more, always more. You wonder if the shard is a call to give, to bleed like Istli, or a trap, binding you to the city's will. The night deepens, the air heavy with the scent of earth and ash. You hear no tremors, no chants, but the silence is a presence, watching, waiting. You think of Seetlali, Tlaloc, their absence is a wound you can't close. You think of Istli, his painted stripes, his sharpened reeds. You clutch the shard, its edges cutting your skin, and wonder what the gods see, what they know. You pray, not to Waytotal, but to the dawn, hoping it will come without Istli's shadow, without the kiln's crack claiming you as its own. The shard is a blade in your dreams, its carved storm god slicing through the dark, his fanged mouth whispering of blood and balance. You wake with a start, the hut's air thick with the scent of straw and something sharper, like ash carried on the wind. Your hand fumbles beneath the mat, finding the shard, its edges biting your fingers as if to remind you it's real, not a dream. Istli's painted face, his dripping reeds, the clay figure by the kiln's crack, they crowd your thoughts, heavy as the city's gaze. You sit up, the straw creaking, and listen. The night is gone, but its weight lingers, a shadow that clings to the dawn. You step outside, the morning light gray and thin, like a veil drawn over the pits. The workers are already moving, their hands buried in clay, their faces etched with a quiet dread. You scan for Seetlali, for Tlaloc, but their absence is a wound that festers unanswered. You settle into your pit, the clay cold and slick, and begin scoop, knead, shape, your hands moving while your mind churns, snag on Istli's chant, the fire god's altar, the kiln's red-smeared crack. The earth feels different today, heavier, as if it's holding its breath. The sun rises, its heat a slow burn, and the air hums with the pit's rhythm. The slap of clay, the rustle of straw, the overseer's distant whistle. But there's a new sound, faint at first, a low keening that seems to rise from the ground itself. You pause, your hands hovering over a brick, and listen. It's not the wind, not the workers, but something deeper, like a voice trapped in the earth. You glance at the kiln, its crack wider now, the red smudge gleaming wetly. And the keening grows louder, a mournful wail that makes your skin prickle. The other workers don't seem to hear it, their heads bowed, their hands steady, but you feel it, a call that tugs at your bones. A figure moves through the pits, not Istli or Malinal, but a child, no older than 8. Her hair braided with strips of cloth, her eyes too large for her face. She carries a basket of dried maize, her small hands clutching it tightly, and around her wrist is a bracelet of obsidian beads, each one carved with a tiny skull. You've never seen her before, but she feels familiar, like a memory you can't place. She stops near your pit, her gaze fixed on the kiln, and you notice her lips moving, whispering words you can't hear. The keening seems to pulse with her voice, a harmony that makes your heart stutter. You keep working, shaping bricks, but your eyes follow her. She sets the basket down and kneels, her hands tracing patterns in the dirt. Circles within circles, a symbol you've seen on temple walls, a mark of the moon goddess, Coil Zokwi, who fell to her brother's blade. The workers nearest are slow, their glances uneasy, but no one speaks. You want to ask who she is, what she's doing, but the overseer's shadow looms, and you focus on your clay, the keening, a constant hum in your ears. You think of the shard hidden in your hut, and wonder if the child knows, if her patterns are a summons or a warning. The day drags, the sun a relentless weight. Your throat is dry, your stomach a hollow ache. But you don't stop, driven by a fear that's become your skin. The keening fades, then returns stronger now, and you notice the workers' hands trembling, their bricks uneven. The overseer barks an order, his voice sharper than usual, and you stack your bricks, your quota barely met. You glance at the child again, but she's gone, her basket abandoned, the patterns in the dirt smudged as if by wind. You blink, unsure if she was real, or if the city is weaving ghosts from your guilt. As the sun dips, casting shadows that twist like serpents, a new figure appears, a man broad-shouldered, his face painted white, his eyes rimmed with black, like the moon's dark side. He wears a cloak of woven reeds, adorned with shells that clink as he moves, and in his hand is a staff topped with a carved moon, its crescent sharp enough to cut. You've heard of him, Soothe, the moon's keeper, who guards the goddess's rights and speaks her will. He stops at the kiln, his staff tapping the ground, and the keening stops, the silence sudden and heavy, like a door slamming shut. Soothe kneels, his cloak pooling around him, and examines the crack, his fingers hovering over the red smudge. He mutters something, a prayer or a curse, and you feel the air shift, cooler now, thick with the scent of maize and blood. The workers watch, their hands frozen, their faces pale. You think of the child's patterns, coil Zokwi's fall, and wonder if Soothe is here for balance, for sacrifice, as Malinal and Istli warned. You shape a brick, your hands trembling, and feel the shard's weight, even from your hut, a secret that burns. Soothe rises, his staff raised, and speaks, his voice soft but clear, carrying across the pits. The moon weeps, he says. The earth cries. The goddess demands her due. His words are a blade, cutting through the pit's hum, and you feel them in your chest, a summons you can't ignore. You think of the shard, Tlaloc's fang face, and wonder if the moon goddess knows, if her patterns in the dirt were a trap. You glance at the kiln, the crack a dark mouth, and swear you see movement inside, a flicker of white, like bone or cloth, too quick to be sure. The pit's empty, workers trudging to their huts, but you linger, your brick stacked, your heart racing. Soothe remains by the kiln, his staff planted, his painted face unreadable. You notice a small offering at the crack's base, a bundle of maize, its husk stained red, like the shrine's offering, like Istli's blood. You think of Seetlali, Tlaloc, their absence is a question you can't ask. You head to your hut, the dusk thick with the scent of earth and shells, the moon's crescent rising, sharp and cold. Your hut is no refuge, its walls too thin to block the night's gaze. You lie on your mat, the straw biting your skin, and pull the shard from its hiding place. It feels heavier, its carved eyes glinting, as if the moon's light has found it. You think of Soothe, his painted face, his talk of the goddess's due. You think of the child, her skull beads, her patterns in the dirt. You've given bricks sweat fear, but the moon weeps, the earth cries, and you wonder what the goddess demands, your blood, your secret, or your soul. The night deepens, the air cool but heavy, carrying the scent of maize and ash. You hear no keening, no chants, but the silence is a presence, watching, waiting. You think of the kiln's crack, the red smudge, the flicker of white. You clutch the shard, its edges cutting your palm, and wonder what the moon sees, what the goddess knows. You pray not to coil Zokwi, but to the dawn, hoping it will come without Xochitl's shadow, without the kiln's crack swallowing you whole. The moon's cold light seeps through the cracks of your hut, painting the walls in silver and shadow. As you clutch the shard, its storm god's carved eyes glinting like a promise or a threat. Xochitl's words, the moon weeps, the goddess demands, echo in your skull, tangled with the child's skull beads, the keening earth, the kiln's crack smeared with red. The air is heavy, thick with the scent of maize and ash, and the silence outside is no comfort, a quiet that feels like the city holding its breath, waiting for you to move, to choose. You hide the shard beneath your mat, its weight a bruise on your thoughts, and lie back, the straw biting your skin, praying for sleep that won't come. Dawn breaks, a frail glow that barely dents the chill. You rise, your body a map of pain, and step outside, the pits stirring with a sluggish dread. The workers are there, their hands buried in clay, but their eyes are hollow, their movements mechanical, as if the moon's gaze drained them. You look for Seetlali, for Tlaloc, but their absence is a scar, a question you've stopped asking. You settle into your pit, the clay cold and gritty, and begin scoop, knead, shape, your hands moving while your heart races, snagged on Xochitl's crescent staff, the child's patterns, the flicker of white in the kiln's crack. The sun climbs, its heat a dull weight, and the air hums with the pit's rhythm. The slap of clay, the rustle of straw, the overseer's sharp whistle. But there's a new scent today, faint but sharp, like blood left to dry. You notice it when you breathe, a metallic tang that clings to the back of your throat. You glance at the kiln, its crack wider, the red smudge now a streak, like a wound torn open. You think of Istli's dripping reeds, Malinal's spiral, and the keening returns, softer now, a whisper from the earth that only you seem to hear. You shape a brick, your hands trembling, and wonder if the city is bleeding, or if it's calling for yours. A figure moves through the pits, not Xochitl or Istli, but a woman, her frame slight, her robe dyed the color of dusk, her hair adorned with jade beads that clink softly. She carries a clay vessel, its surface etched with serpents, their scales catching the light, and her eyes are shadowed, as if she hasn't slept in days. You've heard of her, Estli, the serpent's voice, who sings to Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent, and carries his messages to the priests. She stops near your pit, her vessel cradled like a child, and you feel her gaze, not on your bricks, but on you, as if she sees the shard's secret burning in your chest. You keep working, your hands shaping clay, but Estli's presence is a hook, pulling you toward her. She kneels, setting the vessel on the ground, and begins to hum a low, winding melody that feels like a river curling through the pits. The workers slow, their hands faltering, but no one speaks. The overseer watches from a distance, his face tight, and you wonder why he doesn't intervene, why he lets her linger. Estli's hum grows, weaving with the keening earth, and you feel it in your bones, a call to rise, to follow, to offer something you can't name. You think of the shard Tlaloc's fanged face, and wonder if she knows, if her serpents see what you hide. The day grinds on, the sun a relentless fist. Your throat is dry, your stomach a gnawing void, but you don't stop, driven by a fear that's become your pulse. Estli moves through the pits, her vessel leaving a trail of faint, damp stains on the earth, as if it weeps. You notice the workers' glances, their whispered prayers, their bricks uneven, as if her hum has shaken their rhythm. You think of the modern world, a fleeting escape, your friends, their lives a blur of screens and deadlines, their worries so small compared to this. They'd break here, their soft hands useless, their complaints drowned by Estli's song. You almost smile, but the keening earth pulls you back, its whisper louder now, a voice that knows your name. As the sun dips, casting shadows that twist like serpents, Estli stops at the kiln, her vessel raised, her hum now a chant, sharp and urgent. She pours something from the vessel, dark, viscous, glinting red, into the crack, and the earth trembles, a low growl that shakes the clay under your knees. The workers freeze, their eyes wide, but Estli doesn't flinch. She turns, her jade beads clinking, and her eyes find yours just for a moment, a look that feels like a judgment. You shape a brick, your hands trembling, and feel the shard's weight even from your hut, a secret that binds you to the kiln's hunger. Estli speaks, her voice soft but clear, cutting through the pit's hum. The serpent stirs, she says. The city breathes. Who will answer? Her words are a stone, heavy with meaning you can't fully grasp, but you feel them, a summons to give, to bleed, to become something more than clay. You think of a shard, the storm god's gaze, and wonder if Quetzalcoatl knows, if his serpents coil around your secret. You glance at the kiln, the crack now a dark maw, the red streak pulsing, and swear you hear a sound, a low, wet rasp, like breath from a throat that shouldn't exist. The pit's empty, workers trudging to their huts, but you linger, your brick stacked, your heart pounding. Estli remains by the kiln, her vessel empty, her chant fading into the dusk. You notice a small offering at the crack's base, a serpent scale carved from jade, its edges sharp enough to cut. You think of Citlali, Tlaloc, their absences a wound you can't heal. You head to your hut, the dusk thick with the scent of blood and jade, the earth's keening a whisper in your ears. Your hut is no sanctuary, its walls too thin to block the night's weight. You lie on your mat, the straw sharp, and pull the shard from its hiding place. It feels alive, warm, its carved eyes glinting in the dark. You think of Estli, her serpent vessel, her chant that shook the earth. You think of the kiln's crack, the red streak, the rasping breath. You've given bricks sweat fear, but the serpent stirs, the city breathes, and you wonder what Quetzalcoatl demands, your blood, your secret, or your life. The night deepens, the air heavy with the scent of earth and blood. You hear no keening, no chants, but the silence is a presence, watching, waiting. You think of the kiln's crack, the jade scale, the earth's trembling growl. You clutch the shard, its edges cutting your palm, and wonder what the serpent sees, what the city knows. You pray not to Quetzalcoatl, but to the dawn, hoping it will come without Estli's shadow, without the kiln's crack breathing your name. The shard is a fire in your hand, its storm god's carved eyes boring into you as you lie in the dark, the hut's walls trembling with the city's pulse. Estli's chant, the serpent's jade scale, the kiln's crack breathing red and rasping. These haunt you, weaving a net that tightens with every breath. The air is thick, heavy with the scent of blood and earth, and the silence outside is a lie, hiding the city's hunger, its demand for something you've yet to give. You tuck the shard beneath your mat, its warmth lingering like a fever, and close your eyes. But Teotihuacan is a dream that owns you. It's gods whispering your name. Dawn comes, a sickly light that seeps through the cracks, painting the hut in shades of bone. You rise, your body a scream of pain, and step outside. The pits are alive, but the workers move like ghosts, their hands buried in clay, their eyes empty, as if the city has already claimed them. You look for Citlali, for Tlaloc, but their absence is a truth you can't escape. You settle into your pit, the clay cold and slick, and begin, scoop, knead, shape, but your hands falter, the shard's weight pulling at you, a secret that's become a chain. The sun rises, its heat a dull knife, and the air hums with the pit's rhythm. The slap of clay, the rustle of straw, the overseer's sharp bark. But there's a new sound today, a low grinding roar, like stones rolling deep in the earth. You pause, your hands hovering, and feel it, a tremor stronger than before, shaking the clay beneath your knees. The workers freeze, their eyes wide, but no one speaks. You glance at the kiln, it's cracked now a gaping maw, the red streak pulsing like a vein, and the roar grows, a voice from the city's heart, calling for blood, for balance for you. A figure emerges from the dust, not Estli, not social, but a man, his frame tall and gaunt, his skin painted with ash, his eyes hidden beneath a mask of polished bone, carved with the face of Mictlantecuhtli, the death god, his skull grinning. He carries a staff topped with a human femur, its surface etched with spirals, and his presence is a cold wind, silencing the pits. You've heard of him, Quali, the bone keeper, who walks the line between life and death, choosing those who feed the underworld. He stops at the kiln, his staff striking the ground, and the earth trembles again, the roar now a scream, splitting the air. You keep working, shaping bricks, but Quali's mask turns toward you, its hollow, eyes locking on yours. Your heart stumbles, the shards wait burning in your mind. He knows. He must. You think of Tlaloc's whisper, Istli's blood, Malinal's spiral, Estli's serpents, all leading here, to this moment, to you. The workers slow, their hands trembling, and the overseer watches, his face pale, his authority crumbling under Quali's gaze. The bone keeper raises his staff, and the roar stops, the silence heavier than stone, thick with the scent of ash and decay. Quali speaks, his voice a dry rasp, like bones grinding. The city hungers, he says. The gods demand. One must go, or all will fall. His words are a noose, tightening around the pits, and you feel them, a summons to stand, to give, to end this. You think of the shard, Tlaloc's fanged face, and wonder if this is why you took it, if the storm god chose you to face this moment. You glance at the workers, their faces pale, their eyes darting, and you see it, the fear, the relief, that it might not be them. The earth trembles again, and the kiln's crack widens, a dark mouth that seems to breathe, its red streak now a river, pooling at the dome's base. You see it then, a shape in a crack, not hands or bone, but a face, fleeting, its eyes wide, its mouth open in a silent scream. It's Seatlali, or Tlaloc, or you. You can't tell, but it's there, a ghost of the city's hunger, a mirror of what you'll become if you stay. Your hands shake, the clay crumbling, and you understand, with a clarity that cuts like obsidian. Surviving here is impossible. The city doesn't want bricks. It wants you, your blood, your soul, your name. Quali steps toward you, his staff tapping, each strike a heartbeat. The workers part, their eyes on the ground, and you're alone, exposed, the shard's secret of fire in your chest. You could run, flee the pits, the city, the gods, but where? The desert waits beyond. It sands a grave for those who defy Teotihuacan. You could fight, refuse, but Quali's mask is a promise of what follows. Death, not as an end, but as a debt paid to the underworld. Or you could give, offer yourself, let the kiln's cracks swallow you, save the others, become the balance Malinal spoke of, the sacrifice Istli bled for. You stand, your legs trembling, the clay caked on your hands like a second skin. Quali stops, his mask tilting, and you feel the city's gaze, not just his but the gods, the pyramids, the earth's. You think of your life, days of clay, nights of fear, a world where every brick was a piece of you, given to a city that never loved you back. You think of the modern world, Your friends, their lives a blur of screens and laughter. Their worries so small they'd shatter here. They'd never understand this choice, this moment. But you do. You've always known, deep down, that Teotihuacan doesn't let you live. It lets you serve. You reach into your tunic, pulling the shard from its hiding place, though you didn't bring it to the pits. It's there impossibly, its carved eyes glinting, Tlaloc's fangs bared. You hold it up and Quali's mask shifts, a flicker of something. Surprise, recognition, breaking its grin. The workers gasp, their whispers a wave, and the earth trembles. The kilns crack groaning, its red river swelling. You step forward, your heart a drum, and speak, your voice steady despite the fear. Take this, you say, offering the shard. Not me. Quali's hand hovers, his staff still, and for a moment you think he'll refuse, that the city will demand your blood instead. But he takes the shard, his fingers brushing yours, cold as bone, and the earth quiets, the roar fading to a sigh. He turns, his mask unreadable, and walks to the kiln, the shard gleaming in his hand. He places it in the crack, and the red river slows, the crack narrowing, as if sated. The face in the crack is gone, seat Lolly or Tlaloc or you, swallowed by the city's will. The workers stare, their silence await, and you feel it, the relief, the shame, the truth that you've traded a piece of the storm god for your life for theirs. Quali turns, his mask fixed on you, and speaks, his voice a whisper now. The city accepts, he says. For now. He walks away, his staff tapping, and the pits resume, the workers' hands moving, their eyes avoiding yours. You've survived, but at a cost you can't yet name, a debt that lingers like the shard's warmth. You return to your pit, the clay waiting, and shape a brick, your hand steady, but your soul unsteady. You understand now why surviving here is impossible, not because of the labor, the hunger, the fear, but because the city takes everything, even your choices, even your defiance. You've given the shard, but it wasn't enough, not really. The kiln's crack is smaller, but it's still there waiting. And you know it'll open again, hungrier, demanding more. The sun sets, the pit's empty, and you head to your hut, the dusk thick with the scent of earth and silence. You pass no altars, no offerings, but the city's pulse is there, a rhythm you can't escape. Your hut is no refuge, its walls too thin. The straw mat a reminder of what you've lost. You lie down, the darkness pressing, and think of the shard, now part of the kiln, part of the city. You think of Seat Lolly, Tlaloc, their faces in the crack, their lives traded for yours. You think of Quali, his bone mask, his words, for now. You close your eyes, the city's gaze heavy, and know you'll never be free, not really. Teotihuacan owns you, its gods, its bricks, its hunger. You pray not to the dawn, but to nothing, because the gods don't listen, not to brickmakers, not to you. Sleep comes a reluctant guest, and as you drift, you hear it, a faint rasp, like breath from a crack that never truly closes. Sleep well, if you can, curled under your blanket, safe in a world where cities don't hunger. But if you hear a low roar in the night or feel cold fingers brushing your hand, well, it might just be Mictlantecutli, checking if you're ready to pay what you owe.